Tonight, U.S. embassies and consulates around the world closed.
We believe that this threat is significant, and we are taking it seriously.
U.S. officials afraid of another Benghazi, where 4 Americans, including the U.S. ambassador to Libya, were murdered. Nearly a year later, no one wants to repeat the same fatal mistakes.
My heart is broken because he perished the way he did.
The truth is irrefutable that it was a terrorist attack.
Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
Was there a cover-up? And where are the killers?
They're either somewhere planning their next attack, or they're somewhere hiding out.
Will there be justice?
I'm afraid that if these people are still in charge and making these decisions, that more of our people are going to get murdered.
Tonight, from Libya to Washington, D.C., the truth about Benghazi. Good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Tonight, an Outfront special investigation, the truth about Benghazi. For nearly a year, America has been searching for answers about the deadly attacks that took the lives of 4 Americans, including Ambassador Christopher Stevens, Information Officer Sean Smith, and former Navy SEALs Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty. That search for answers could not be any more relevant than tonight, as U.S. embassies and consulates around the world are closed or on high alert. Preventing another attack like Benghazi means getting to the truth of what really happened there. Tonight, we go with Arwa Damon back to Benghazi, where it all began, to investigate why the attacks happened and what's being done to find the killers. Plus, John King gets to the bottom of the now infamous talking points and the evolving story coming out of Washington in the days and weeks after the attacks. Did presidential politics lead to a cover-up? And what do the families of the 4 lost Americans want most? You'll hear from them directly. But first, we go back to the hours before the attack. September 11th. In America, a day of solemn remembrance. In 2012, a day of violence in the Middle East. Demonstrators stormed the U.S. Embassy in Cairo, angry over a low-rent film made in the U.S. that mocks the Prophet Muhammad. In neighboring Libya, Ambassador Christopher Stevens is in Benghazi, a city known for upheaval. Stevens knew Benghazi well. During the civil war that ousted strongman Muammar Gaddafi, he lived there.
He was in at the beginning when Secretary Clinton sent him over there to talk to the rebels and find out, who are these people? What are they up to? Should we be supporting them?
Stevens' parents were proud that he helped the rebel-led coalition set up a new government.
We were concerned about him and concerned about the work and appreciative of it.
My name is Chris Stevens, and I'm the new U.S. ambassador to Libya.
In May 2012, Stevens was promoted to ambassador. His job? To bring stability to a hot zone.
Gaddafi's weapon stockpiles had been raided, and weapons were just everywhere. So one of the things that the U.S. was interested in doing, and in particular the CIA, was collecting weapons.
That mission brought Stevens to Benghazi on September 11th, when he opened a cultural center and met with officials.
The ambassador, Stevens, had met with a Turkish official in the special mission compound, the consulate there in Benghazi, and everything was quiet for them.
That all changed when darkness fell. At 9:42 p.m., gunfire is heard outside the Benghazi consulate. Then, a loud explosion. Within minutes, dozens of armed militia charged the main gate, setting fire to the barracks, headed straight for the ambassador's residence. By 10 p.m., Ambassador Stevens, Information Officer Sean Smith, and a security agent run to a safe room.
3 men with guns against 120 with RPGs, machine guns, grenades. They would have been no match.
An alert is sent to the CIA security team at an annex about a mile away. that alert also goes to the State Department and the U.S. Embassy in Tripoli. Using a cell phone, Chris Stevens calls Deputy Mission Chief Gregory Hicks at the embassy.
And he said, "Greg, we're under attack."
A few months before the attack, Stevens briefly cut back on his morning runs after extremists posted his jogging routine online.
I do know from his diary that they found he recognized that there was danger lurking in these places.
Jeff Porter briefed Stevens on the security risks.
The best way to characterize the security environment in Benghazi on September 10th, on September 11th, was that it was unpredictable. There was no law and order, and so while it was probably unlikely that something bad was going to happen, were something bad to happen, it was likely to be catastrophic.
Stevens made repeated requests for more security. Guard booths and gates were added to the Benghazi compound as part of $100,000 in upgrades. But they still didn't have enough people.
Why was manpower so lacking in Benghazi?
We're essentially talking about is a CIA mission in Benghazi, whose purpose was to collect information, to collect weapons potentially, and they may have deliberately wanted to keep a low security profile.
CNN's Drew Griffin reports CIA agents have taken multiple polygraph tests to prevent them from talking about the CIA mission in Benghazi. But we do know that in July, diplomatic security agent Eric Nordstrom asked to have a 16-person special support team stay on as extra security until mid-September. That request went unanswered. Around 10:30 p.m., a fortified door with heavy metal bars keeps the attackers from breaking into the safe room where Smith and Stevens are. Minutes later, the attackers set fire to the villa with diesel fuel.
And literally within minutes, the smoke overwhelmed Stevens and Smith in the safe area.
About the same time, 6 American security agents leave the CIA annex. Former Navy SEAL Tyrone Woods is with them. After a battle, Woods and friendly Libyan fighters regain control of the consulate and start searching for Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith.
They found Sean's body and pulled it out, but he was no longer responsive. They did not find the ambassador.
Back in Washington, word spreads fast about the attack. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Martin Dempsey meet with President Obama.
So what happened at the meeting?
Obviously, this is a very unusual event, and it has profound significance for the president. And by this time, of course, everyone's thinking it is 9/11.
At 12:07 a.m. Benghazi time, 6:07 p.m. in Washington, the State Department sends an email to the White House, the Pentagon, and the FBI. It says the Islamic military group Ansar al-Sharia has claimed credit.
If there was any thought that this might have been a spontaneous uprising, well, this clearly put that to rest.
3 days before September 11th, a local Libyan militia told the U.S. the security situation in Benghazi was quickly deteriorating, warning the Americans to decrease their presence.
There may have been a lack of situational awareness. They may have not been able to identify which of the dozens of violent armed groups in Benghazi posed a threat to the United States.
We have breaking news. An American, we can confirm now, has been killed in Libya tonight. At about 1 o'clock a.m., an eyewitness captures a man being pulled from the smoke-filled consulate on video. This is the last image of Chris Stevens alive. At almost the same time, former Navy SEAL Glenn Doherty arrives in Benghazi with a rescue team from Tripoli. Kate Quigley is his sister.
He chose to run in and chose to defend, even though it wasn't his job. He ran in.
That's how Glenn has lived his whole life. You know, anything you need at any time, he's there for you.
By 4 a.m., Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods team up at the CIA annex. They're protecting at least 30 Americans against overwhelming odds.
Literally, the 30 or so individuals that were there could have all been killed or captured.
And then, the final blow. The full-on assault comes between 4 and 5 a.m. Libya time.
And there were 3 mortars that were dropped that hit the roof of the building. It was overwhelming injuries.
Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods are killed.
I got a phone call, and from there, I had to then decide how to tell everyone.
And how did you do it?
There's no way to sugarcoat it, you just do it. You know, getting a phone call that kind of alters your life forever is, it's horrible.
When the attacks on the consulate and CIA annex finally end, the assault has lasted nearly 8 hours.
Kai perished doing what he loved to do and doing it well. My son did the right thing at the right time for the right reasons.
30 Americans were saved, but 4 Americans are dead.
My heart is broken because he perished the way he did, but at the same time, I'm proud of what he did.
The next day, the President of the United States makes a vow.
We will not waver in our commitment to see that justice is done for this terrible act, and make no mistake, justice will be done.
Ambassador Chris Stevens called for help within the military get there in time.
I think there are other assets and other things that could have been put into motion.